Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of No Fixed Address. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of No Fixed Address. I'm Deo, your host, and if you're new here, this podcast is all about kind of what it is like to live away from home once you're in university, whether your home is an ocean away or just maybe a 30-minute drive. Also, wherever you might be, thank you so much for, again, taking the time to listen to me, whether you're in bed. I would say studying for finals, but I don't think you'd want to listen to me while you study for finals. Or if you're in your car walking around campus, again, thank you so much for being here with me right now. So, for today's episode, I was actually struggling for a bit to come up with a theme because this past week, as all of you, I assume, know, was Thanksgiving break. And I've always believed that Thanksgiving break is positioned in such a weird time in the semester just because it gives you this false blanket of kind of like security and comfort of like, you can just be in the mindset of, oh, I'm already in break, I can chill, I can relax. And then you're thrown right back into the cage with the lions because you get back to school and you have 1 week where every professor is trying to speed run the rest of the class that they didn't get to cover so far. And then in less than 5 days, you're starting finals, or maybe you already have, because I know I have, even though apparently that's legal. Thank you so much to my professors. But because of this, I feel like for the past month, I've just kind of been in this like go, go, go mentality of like, oh, I need to finish this. And right after I finish this, I need to start on that. And it's just been like an ongoing routine of like exam, assignment, homework, project, other exam, and it just like kind of keeps going. And so because of that, I feel like I haven't had the time to really just sit and get a chance to be creative because I feel like my mind is split in 100 different ways. And when I was brainstorming what I should talk about today and I couldn't come up with anything, this amazing idea just came to me that like, oh, I should maybe talk about exactly what I'm going through right now, which is just these winter blues. But what makes them even more hard to deal with is because it's this gloomy weather outside. It's cold, it's snowy, it gets dark at 4 p.m., which is awful. It also makes me miss home so much more than any other point in the academic year. And that's a hard place to be in, to be honest, because I have to study and I have to be locked in academically, be an academic weapon. But then I am struggling because my mind is already halfway across the ocean on its way back home. So, without even more further ado, let's just get right into the episode. So, let's talk about November because November is sneaky. And I'll put myself on blast here before I even start talking about this episode. I actually enjoy winter as a season. It's one of my favorites. It's up there with summer. And maybe this is a bit controversial, but winter to me is just so comforting ever since I was a kid. And so it has a dear space in my heart. But November is such an interesting month because I low-key have beef with November because I think October is still cute. It's warm, the leaves are pretty, they're orange, they're red, they're falling. You still have the option of kind of romanticizing your life in October. But then November rolls around, and November is all about, hey, what if it just got dark at 4 p.m. and all your motivation to do anything past 3:30 o'clock just disappears. And there's something about November specifically, I really don't know what it is, but it just feels like the world is heavier. Everything is on your shoulders, and not in a dramatic way of like, oh, the sky is falling, but I feel like it's in a lot of small everyday tasks kind of get harder to do in November. For me personally, again, this is the reason I have beef with November. And I know I said I love winter because I do, but this is the one thing I have to agree with all the winter haters on. I don't like when it gets dark at 4 p.m. and it looks like it's already midnight. And so this light changing time is what gets me, because I wake up and the sun is not really up. And then I go to class, I do things here and there, and then I go clock into work, and 30 minutes into me being there, it's dark. And then it's 4:30 and outside it looks like it's midnight. And because of this, I feel so tired, even though maybe it's been like 8 hours since I've woken up that morning. And so that just makes everything so complicated, especially when it comes to this time of the semester where you have to study whenever you have any free time. And that mostly for me happens to be in the afternoon, and especially even on weekends. Like, tell me why. I am in my room, I'm trying to study. I look outside, it looks completely dark, except, of course, it's not really dark because there's the lights from the buildings and the street lights, but you get what I mean. And then I look at the time, it's 4 p.m. This essay that I have to write is not even halfway done, but my motivation just leaves my body so fast. And then I feel like for the rest of the afternoon, I can get nothing done because of this. And it's so frustrating because, especially again, because it's final season, I feel like it makes me want to be even more motivated and locked in. And just the difference in the lining gets my head and saturates. Again, it makes it so frustrating for me because I want to be productive, but it's like I can't. And it's awful. I hate it. And with these winter blues, I'm sure I'm not the only one experiencing this. I know for sure my friends are, because this is a big subject at the moment. But then to kind of make everything even worse, I feel like for me personally, the time of year now that it gets dark so early, it hits different because I'm far from home. And again, it makes everything so much harder because it feels like my body remembers, or my mind remembers, what it's like to be home and remembers what my hometown feels and looks like during these months. And of course, this might also just be Chicago, but there's this familiar cold. I don't know if this is just me, that I feel in my hometown, like when it gets around these winter months, that it's different here. The cold here and the cold in Bucharest are completely different colds. But again, these little changes in my routine and what I'm seeing really make me miss home so much more. And this winter homesickness is like nothing compared to homesickness at any other point in the semester. Kind of similar to last episode about things I wish I knew, or things people don't really tell you before moving abroad. But this is another thing that I feel like people don't talk enough about, is kind of this winter blues slash being away from home feeling, because it brings completely different challenges with it. Because winter at home has a certain look and there's people attached to it, and maybe your family kitchen smells a certain way. There's these traditions that are linked to what these months look like at home, that they're completely different here. And so abroad, I think winter can feel empty. It kind of gives that moment in Twilight. I don't know how many of you know this. I'm hoping at least some, where Edward leaves for a while and Bella is just basically depressed. And in the book itself, for the months that are passing while Edward's away, is just a blank page that the only writing on it is just the month, and you're like basically going through it. That's basically how I would describe this period of November slash beginning of December when you're abroad, because you miss all the routines that you might have set up for yourself at home up until you moved away. You're missing the family gatherings. You're missing, again, other routines that you might have said. And just the emotional warmth that you get from maybe being with your family and friends there. Because now you have to buy yourself winter boots that can withhold Chicago winter and snow and wind. And you have to buy yourself gloves because you didn't bring any with you. And you're wondering if it's okay to already be wearing 3 layers in November. And then you're asking yourself, why did you choose to live in Chicago? Because the winter season here sucks and it's hard and it's cold. And on top of all of this, there's just the seasonal fatigue, the winter blues, whatever you want to call it. And for me, it never comes like dramatically or like at one point. It's something gradual that I don't realize I'm going through until I find myself being really sad, just missing home. And I start to want to go out less. And I'm feeling nostalgic for things I didn't care about up until now. It's a hard time. It's like winter wakes up every nostalgic bone in my body that I might have that maybe I didn't even know I had. And dare I say, it kind of becomes like a spiral because if you know, you kind of know how it goes. That there's this moment, it's either, for me, again, it's either right before Thanksgiving break or like the weekend of Thanksgiving break before we come back to classes that my brain is just like, wow, let me get sad really quick while you have to finish all your projects and start studying for finals. And suddenly I'm like, wow, I really don't appreciate enough every time my mom cooked for me, especially because I don't know, it's soup season right now. I can't really cook soup. And so just again, that's another layer, but it makes me feel, sad. And then I'm thinking, why did I even leave home? Like, why did I complain so much about my hometown? And that's when you kind of realize that you're far gone down the spiral of just kind of being sad for yourself. And to be honest, this feeling for me, and I've told my parents this before actually, and I think even my sister, that for me, this winter nostalgia feels like a very heavy coat that I just start wearing around everywhere. And, that's hard to do at any point during the year or the semester, but even more so when you're going into finals and exams. And don't let me start on final seasons in December because it is such a flaw in the system. Because, and I get it, you start a semester in August, so it has to end at some point in order for the second one to start again in spring. But again, it's just this weird period of everybody feeling like they don't want to do anything. Christmas is coming up, so people are kind of excited, but then again, you're excited about being out of school, so everybody is just done. But then your professors expect you to write essays and memorize a semester worth of material, and you have to give presentations. You have to stay organized because how else are you going to do everything if you're not organized? And you have to, keep yourself going, even though you're dealing with the Chicago cold and the winter storms and the 8 inches of snow. And it's dark and you're homesick. And there's just this pressure that you put on yourself to get everything done and do it good because, you want your grades to stay up and you want to finish the semester strong. And again, you're dealing with all of this and you're supposed to stay focused. It's so hard. And my brain is already on the plane back home. And I find myself studying for finals. It's like 1 a.m. I have an exam at 11 the next morning. And I'm starting to look at pictures from home with my friends, with my family, and I'm starting to cry because I miss it so much. And it's just such a weird period. And it's exhausting, especially because while all of this is happening, again, and this is maybe just me, I don't know if it's anyone else as well, but there's this countdown in the back of my head of like, oh my God, I only have to make it through these many days so I can go back home. But that countdown just kills my productivity because there is nothing more distracting then, getting ready to go sit to take an exam. And my brain's like, oh, in 7 days, you'll already be home. Because I already started imagining seeing my family again, being in my own bed, eating home cooked meals that my parents or my sister have cooked, seeing my friends again, all the winter/holiday routines that we're gonna go through. And I just go from being super locked in for this exam to just, again, imagining myself already home, which is so, so bad for me and my exam grade. Because there's this in between feeling, because, again, you're physically here taking your exams or studying for finals, but mentally you're already somewhere else and you're just kind of suspended in between. And again, I think this is something no one really prepares you for, because you somehow feel more alone than you actually are. Even if you have friends, even if you're busy, winter just, and again, maybe this is just me and everybody listening to this has a very easy winter and no one really is going through it like I am. But winter just makes everything seem further than it already is. Home is further. All my friends, even the ones that I have here, feel further from me. My adult responsibilities are somehow heavier than before. So everything just becomes more intense. And fortunately, I'm here to tell you that after these 16 minutes that I've just gone through yapping about how depressing winter is, that this winter loneliness is normal. Because, and there's studies about this, it's not a weakness. Your brain is actually responding to the stress that you're facing, also reduced sunlight, and just, the emotional, overwhelming time that you're going through. And so if you're like me and you're experiencing all of these things, or maybe just some of them, it's normal. It's important to just kind of remind yourself that, because even for me, I almost didn't make it here today because I was so sad and it was so gloomy outside that I didn't want to get out of bed. But, just reminding myself that this is normal. And more importantly, it's gonna pass. It just, takes a bit of weight off your shoulders. So if you're wondering, wow, Theo, what advice do you have for us if we're experiencing something like this? Well, look no further. I actually have some advice. And this might work for some of you. These might work like halfway. These might not work. And that's okay, because everybody responds to situations differently. So if these ones specifically don't work for you, don't fret. Again, it's completely normal. You can find what works for you just by trying things and putting yourself out there. But if there's some practical tips that I have for you, I think first and foremost, give yourself permission to be tired and be feeling all of this, because you're human. You're not a robot. You're not a machine. You're allowed to feel drained, and the world is allowed to look like it's ending at times. Because, even if you think you're dramatic, it's good to just kind of get it out and allow yourself to sit with it for a bit for you to be able to come back from it. And in order to come back from these hard feelings that you're going through, you can set kind of micro goals. So don't tell yourself like, oh, I'm going to study for this final. No, put a timer for 20 minutes and be like, okay, I'm really going to focus on this for 20 minutes and then I get a break. Because, and I don't remember if this was a TikTok or if it's something I read somewhere. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to give the credit where credit's due just because I don't know who to give credit to. But I was told that if a task ever feels too big, put a timer for 10 minutes and just start doing it, because chances are by the time that timer goes off, you're already gonna feel like you have made so much progress that might as well just finish it. So, it's just kind of a mental thing to help yourself get into those tasks that feel so daunting at times. And it gives you the opportunity to actually finish them. And you're going to feel so proud of yourself when you do. Also, this one's the one where I feel like it's going to be hit or miss. Try to romanticize the small things. And it's not about the big moments that you're going through, but just the tiny ones. You're having your favorite tea, or you're watching your comfort show, Or, you just finished one of the tasks and now you're under the warm blanket scrolling on TikTok or anything that you do in your breaks. And it's good to just romanticize those moments to help yourself stay present and also make yourself feel a little better. I also think it's good to just stay connected, but like on your terms. I know for me, again, it gets really exhausting at times to respond to all the messages that I have on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on the normal messaging app. And so, definitely give yourself the time and the space to stay connected with people. So, like, call whenever you want to, text when you can, or when it feels like it's not that exhausting. And don't force it, because I can promise you others are going through it as well. So they totally, totally get it. That sometimes it's hard to respond to those texts. And I do this sometimes with my best friend, just giving that text of like, hey, I saw this. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going through it right now. I'll be back. Also is more than enough because, again, people will understand what you're going through. And it would also probably mean a lot to them that you took the time out of your day, even if you're feeling kind of shitty, to give them a text that, hey, I know you're here. I'm also here. Just give me a bit of time to get myself together. And lastly, one of maybe the most important tips, remind yourself that this is only temporary. In the words of the show Fleabag and the priest, this too shall pass. Because finals end, winters end, your semesters end, and before you know it, you will see your people soon. And your future self will thank you and will be so proud of you for holding it together. And to go back to what I said at the beginning of this episode, that winter is up there in my favorite season and it's kind of battling for top spot with summer, even though I've spent the last 21 minutes talking about how hard winter is for me when I'm away from home, I think in a way it also makes me appreciate winter even more. Because it's hard and it's draining and it's exhausting at times, but I also think there's something so beautiful about it because this November/December/just winter in general, maybe abroad, teaches you a kind of resilience that you don't really get to learn anywhere else. And I also think it's so important because, again, maybe just me, it makes me appreciate the people in my life even more because I realize how deeply I love all the people in my life and how much I've grown and how capable I am. And most importantly, how strong I became. Again, you go through all these hard lessons just to learn that you can be homesick and still build yourself into a better version of yourself. And you can be overwhelmed and still make it and push through. And you can be very emotional and still be proud of how far you've come. I think winter reminds you that you're human, maybe in a very roundabout way of doing it, and it's hard and it's exhausting at times. But again, I think it just shows you how to be more appreciative of what you have. So, as we're closing out the episode, if I were to connect everything that I've kind of talked about, because I rambled, I know, I yapped, and that's okay. I think it's important to know that everything you're going through is normal and it's okay and it's gonna pass. And if you feel like you're in between places, know that both places matter and both versions of yourself matter. And you're not failing because you're tired or you're exhausting or you're nostalgic and you're actually questioning why you ever moved away from home. You're human. And you're doing and going through something really hard that not a lot of people could make it through. And it's important to remind yourself that because you're doing it well, even though it doesn't feel like it right now, I can promise you, you're killing it. So again, just remember, you're doing enough and you're doing your best. And you are closer to the finish line than you think. I'm not sure when this episode is actually gonna be published. I'm recording it on the 4th of December. So I am currently in the middle of making it through my finals exams. So maybe it brings you a little bit of peace that we're both going through it right now. And if this gets published next Thursday, so that would be the 11th, when maybe most of us are already done, then, reward yourself. Give yourself a little treat. And even if you're in the middle of finals right now, also give yourself a little treat, because you know what? I'm going to give myself a little sweet treat today because I am proud of myself, and I hope you can be proud of yourself too. As always, thank you so much for listening to No Fixed Address. And again, if you want to connect, if this episode is relatable, if it made you think of someone that maybe is going through this right now, I would love to connect on Instagram. You can follow me at nofixedaddress.podcast, and you can always message me or just follow me. That's also fine. And whenever you're listening to this and wherever you are, I hope you find a little moment this week that feels like home and makes you appreciate everything. Bye, guys.